5 o'clock, I'm going to call the FHR meeting in progress.
To order.
To order there. That's a good idea. Roll call. Trustee Zerflu. Here. Trustee Grondin.
Here.
President Mansell.
Yeah.
Okay. We have enough for a quorum. Motion to approve the agenda and approve the previous committee meetings from July 2nd, 2024.
So we'll.
Moved by Zerflu.
Second.
Second by Grondin. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Both pass. Public comments on the agenda items. We have some people in the public. Anybody have any comments at this time of anything that's on the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Mr. B, yeah, if you'd like to, if you want to stand up. Mr. Bina from the superintendent of Port Edward School District.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I noticed on the agenda that there's discussion about a new police chief, and corresponding with that is potential add-on duties as a school resource officer. We've had some conversations. I've had conversations with some of the individuals at the table here tonight about the need for a school resource officer, about our current the current obligations of the village police, and they are doing an outstanding job. I want to commend Scott. I want to commend Brandon, Josiah. They're doing an amazing job for us. They have built connections. They have built relationships. They are there at a moment's notice, so they are doing a tremendous job. That being said, the program could be better. We are hoping that somehow the village will be able to find a way to help fund a community resource officer with expanded hours. We would like to have a community resource officer in our schools to do some educational programming with our children. And, hopefully that would, again, that would make our community better. That would make our community safer. So that's why I'm here tonight, is to hear that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to respond, we're constantly looking for ways to financially support them programs, and I know that the school district has been great in the past, and the agreements between us and the school district has been phenomenal. It's just a matter of, and we're in the process of that too. You can see we have some further things on the agenda about comparisons for the next agenda budget coming up in 2025. Thanks, Jim. Anybody else have anything? Leo?
My name's Leo Damaskar. I'm here representing the Police and Fire Commission. Based upon the draft agenda for the 6 o'clock meeting, and you can correct me if I'm mistaken, it appears that the proposal is to create a new chief position who is part-time SRO, part-time chief. Is that correct?
There's going to be discussion on that this evening. It's all in discussion.
Okay.
So we're looking at how we can serve the school and our community in the best interest with the financial, I guess, I would just be honest, the financial struggles that each community is finding themselves in. So what we're doing tonight is discussing what we're planning on doing, and if we come up with a decision and a motion for the committee of the whole, that would be in that meeting at 6 o'clock. Chief Drew has been doing an excellent job. Just to be honest with you, he was probably in the school, and I don't want to speak with him, and I would go off table if I'd be corrected, but the majority of the time, the chief was our SRO last year. He was there. He spent a lot of time in the school, and he did some great relationships with the kids and was there. And I'm not sure, I guess going off the table, am I correct, Chief?
Yes.
Okay. So that's some of the discussion. To consider it, we're going to discuss, and I don't know how everybody's opinion is on this. Everybody has different opinions, but we want to discuss that. So when it becomes a hiring process for the PFC, our candidates know we have some expectations. We'd love to have a community resource officer, but the fundings of that, we want to make sure the candidate knows their duty is going to be somewhat of being over at the school and taking care of our community and our kids.
Speaking to that, I talked to Commissioner Stewart earlier this afternoon. He has family obligations and was able to be here tonight. As we move into the fall and start the candidate process to replace Mr. Drew, there are some potentially very serious complications in trying to hire someone posted for a position like that. There's going to be questions about who do they report to. Is he responsible to the village board or the PFC or the superintendent of schools or whatever? We're in the process in the school district of trying to rework part of our elementary building to accommodate a wraparound program for childcare and the movement of the 4K program from the Y into the elementary building, which sort of happened quicker than we hoped, expected, knew, or had any idea of, because the Y didn't communicate with us. To be faced with the prospect of them finding a space or whatever. I mean, can we do it? Yeah. But I guess I wish had this been in the works, that we had been consulted, or at least made aware of it before this meeting, because based upon the agendas tonight, there's a potential for a decision to be made on this at the 6 o'clock meeting. It says action and possible decision, or discussion and possible action. So I would parrot what Mr. Pena said. When you're working with other agencies, it would be really beneficial if we would be kept in the loop when these ideas get generated. I'm not opposed to them, but the agenda popped up on my wife's Facebook page at the end of last week, and I'm flipping through it. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? So
Yeah, and I think, you know,
that's
Leo,
my point.
just to, you know, in our meeting here at FHR, we're just disgusting. We're not gonna come up with any
I
motion.
understand. I'm talking about
But,
the
and
6 o'clock.
I understand that your concerns with the other part, and I guess that's gonna be up to the village president, if we're gonna make a motion, or the board as a committee of a whole on the next one. But, we also are looking at, like Chairman Stewart for the PFC asked us for direction
Yes.
on what we're looking for a future chief, and we have some time. So it's not that we have to make these motions and do everything tonight,
Correct.
but like I said, it is on the agenda, it could be made tonight.
Yeah,
So,
working towards that is really good. We appreciate that.
okay, so yeah,
All right.
thank you very much. Anybody else have anything? Okay, Chairman comments, I have none. Item 7, a motion to approve the monthly bills, journal entries, and previous month and financial report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Grundon. I'll second it. Any discussion on the monthly bills or? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Hearing no nays, motion passed. Number 8, the discussion and possible approval of resolution number 2024-05, amending the 2024 adopted budget. I guess I'll let our village administrator, Dwayne, explain that.
This is one item on the agenda that actually ties with all the discussions we just had from the public. And I'll go through it. And the reason this is in front of you is that we're looking at the 2024 budget. And we have areas in the 24 budget that is shortcomings and we have budgeted so much in certain dollars and not cover it. And the area we're talking about is in the expenditure part in public works. In the, I think the line is really referring to brush removal and stumping and tree removal. We had a lot of trees going down and we had a lot of removal that ran over. So Ben came to me, came to Diane, we started looking at where were we going to be able to find the funds to fill that hole. We're ahead of time for the end of the year. And that's why the other items are on the agenda too. So basically what we know, and we talked to the chief, then we talked to Ben, and we also, today I got a chance to finally talk to the school superintendent because this is all coming on. That's why these items are on the agenda for discussion and there's possible action. That's all it says, possible action, doesn't mean not be any action. And the thing is that where we looked at is that we had $60,000 in revenue coming from in the revenue side for the community officer. And at the same time, we had the expenditures. Well, talking to our police chief, we did not proceed with the grant, with the legacy. And reason being, and he can tell me if I'm wrong when I say this, is that he realized that the legacy grant was for a 5-year period. And when we start looking at 5 years and we make that commitment, then you look at the total budgetary process where the village is sitting right now. You look at 5 years, you would have to, when you make that commitment, we as the village would have to fill that differences in 5 years. The way your village budget is and the way your accounts are right now, we don't have the reserves to make that long-term commitment. And we're being honest with you up front, and we don't have a long-term commitment. So where is the area that we have not spent money and happened to be the amount we put in line? We call it it was a CRO in portion of. So here's the things that occur, and we don't want to do deficit spending. That's very important that we don't do deficit spending in our overall budget. And you have to look and see where we have tight budget. We put one into 2024. Even the school heard those discussions with us in the past. And now we're realizing that we're right on our line with all of them. And basically we have one line where we're overspending and we need to make sure it's covered before we get to the end of the year, because I don't want to see the village have a deficit in one spot. So as a team, we start looking where is the portion of an additional dollars. Doesn't matter what department. We know the fire department is running very tight, lean. We know the public works is down tight, lean, but they had this one area come over. And then we went to the police department and talked to the police chief. And it was a discussion that is the only area that we have anything that has not occurred. And it does two things. It affects we had the agreement with the school district, but it was all subject to the grant. And then unless for that piece, how can we proceed with a grant in good faith? How can we sustain it if we don't have the future portion of it? So that's where the resolutions in front of you, where we put the transfer of funds is being upfront with all the staff, where the budget is today in 2024. Actually, I have to give the staff the credit because they're the one that did this work. I didn't do the work with them. They came to me and said, we got this problem. They sat down with staff and started looking where the funds are. I give Diane, Ben, and the chief credit for trying to work this out to make sure that we end in a positive process in our budget for 2024. That's the side effect or the ramification of it is that the school was looking for, as of this fall, someone be on board to come in for I gotta say it right, community resource officer. And
Community resource officer, or school resource officer.
we had set it as a community resource officer in our discussions. And I would be very honest with you, you can call it an RSO or a community. So I think the school wanted to use the community because they had a better pot that they could tap on instead of using the R. So my opinion, it's semantics, but basically that's what you did the C because of how they
Programs are
could tap the
different.
pot.
I'm sorry.
They are
Programs
different. I know they are different, but I'm trying to tell you is how we could get the school to come up with their funds. It's this terminate. It's just language, and they are different. However, we're at that point. So that's why this is here, and then if you want to not act on this and go through other items of agenda first and come back to it, it's your privilege, Chair. And I think the other big piece in this is also the overall budget of how to save funds for the next year. We're looking at what it costs for administration. So it's kind of a package deal, but you gotta understand all pieces. So it's your, really how you want to handle it, sir. If you have any questions, I'll go from that for it's up to you, sir.
Okay, well, I guess Chief Drew, I've talked to DPW, Mr. Martinson, and he was agreeable upon this. He said that you had discussion. I did not talk to you. Are you agreeable upon this, or is this something that you are or not agreeable upon?
To make it short, I'm agreeable upon it. The work was done by Ben and Diane. It's really not out of the police department budget at all. It's out of the general fund.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just basically because we didn't hire this person, we don't have the benefits. And so the hard work was done by them. I appreciate the fact that they asked for my blessing per se, but the truth is, I mean, it's village money. It's for, wages and benefits. It's not designated police department money. So I have no problem with the use of it there.
Trustee Zerflu?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see here it's decreased police services revenue for $60,000. And the total 46 for eventually public works and 15 for general fund capital for the capital funding. My books, of course, I went to grade school a long time ago, $61,000, not $60,000. Where's the discrepancy?
I see that also. Dwayne, right here, it says that transfers of $46,000 to the general government expenditures to public works. And then transfer $15,000 into capital.
Yeah,
fund.
that doesn't have to equal 60. The first one is just, we're not getting the 60,000 from the school. So we're taking out the police wages because that's where it was put. That 60,000 that was gonna be coming from the school was going into police wages. But because the officer did not get hired, that's just a given that we do that to correct our budget. The other one, the 46,000 coming from general government is from some of the benefits that were figured in retirement, health insurance, that for that fourth officer. So we can take that from general, and because of the ash disease from the trees and stuff, tree and brush went way over. So that's just gonna go to public works to help pay some of that cost. The 15,000, I think it was an additional 76,500 that went into the police wages for the officer. So we figure take 15,000 of that on top of the 60 and put that in the capital, the 400 account for a squad.
Yeah, I get that. But so then the 15 and the 46 don't add up. In other words, the 60,000.
That's separate.
That's separate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thanks. Ed. Any other questions or discussion? President Mansell?
Do we, I know that and I kind of wish Ben was here for this. I know that, and maybe Diane can help, maybe not. I know that some of our public works guys get overtime for if they work on the weekend. Is that a regular occurrence? Do you know? Is that just like, hey, I worked all week and now I have a Saturday? I'm just looking to see if there's if you work on a Saturday, maybe you take that Monday off to try to offset that
There's always a
overtime.
public works guy on the weekend
Okay.
Yeah,
for water and wastewater issues.
Okay,
Yep.
so essentially there's overtime paid every week to somebody. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily the same person.
Right.
all the
they
time,
take
right?
turns. It's-
Okay,
We have to be certified in wastewater.
sure, okay. And that's kind of what I figured. I just didn't know if there was some way that we can, looking forward, because let's just say we don't have this buffer next year. And I think a lot of this has to do with because we didn't get the DNR grant, correct?
a
So
lot of
over
this is because we didn't get the DNR.
the DNR grant
Dwayne.
that was gonna go for the brush.
Correct. That's
Okay.
true. We were looking for the DNR grant. I apologize what it was for, and Ben just informed us last week
Right.
We were not awarded that.
Okay, so
that
that's-
hurt us. We were looking for that grant.
For this, and this is why this is kind of in place now,
Yes.
correct?
But we weren't just spending, figuring we were gonna get the grant. This was
Okay,
because of the
hoping.
diseases of the tree. It had to be done.
That's-
It's-
Right,
Yeah.
right.
She's right. Not because of the grant, it's because of the.
No, but
disease.
it's we had to do it, yes. I
But
was
that
just
grant was
wondering, that
considered for
grant
25.
was. Got it.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
that's
for
what I was
25.
missing in my
And
head.
that this year is for 25.
Okay, and I'm just wondering in the future if we need to look a little bit more closely for overtime. Like, if it is, you have to work on a Saturday, maybe it's, you get half of a day on Monday. I don't know how the whole system works. That's why I wish Ben was here to ask.
And I think we can bring that up.
A
in
little bit
Public
more
Works,
questions,
and-
right.
And decide on that for the next year, and
Yeah.
maybe that could be some
That's
savings. for
something
the
I would
budget.
have to agree with, Mr. Radke, is that it's something when you're looking at 2025, you gotta take
Right.
a look at the operations to see where you can make difference.
Right, and I'm just wondering if, just hopefully this doesn't happen again, obviously with diseased trees.
Right.
But I know that was a thing, but I'm supportive of this as long as everybody is on board and knows.
You also have to know, in the past, you can take a look at reserves, your reserves are not
Mhm.
there. That's why you're looking internally at the budget number.
Mhm.
They're there, but not the way it's healthy you used to be.
If it pleases the chair, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-05 as proposed.
Motion by Zerflu. I will second the motion.
So,
Any other discussion?
yeah, I haven't even started.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. I guess I jumped into all that before there was even a
Um,
motion a second. My bad.
Uh, So if we're talking about money, but it's not actually money because we never got the grant, right?
Am I,
It wasn't connected.
right,
I
it was
had it
in the
connected
general
with-
fund, and so
Right.
we're moving this from the general fund, and I think that's what Chief Druid said. You know, they're moving it from the general fund to level the budget for this year, and I have fully confidence in Diane and Ben and Chief that they came with this to make the budget equalized, is I guess is the word I'm thinking, for this year,
Yes.
because of the downfall with the ash tree.
So I think it's problematic that chief wasn't included in the planful part of it for his own department.
Well.
My
Well,
understanding.
I guess
you
I'll
got
have to-
the
It's,
blessing
go ahead.
after?
no, it's actually two separate. Because we didn't get the 60,000 from the school,
Mhm.
that's the 60,000 that's coming out of my wages.
Okay, so
Okay,
then,
so then the other part is based on the
General fund.
benefits that were not paid because we didn't hire the person. So it's actually in the general fund. It's not in the police department wages.
But-
So,
then going back to the first part of my question, if we didn't get the money from the school, it was never money there to transfer. What are we,
You gotta understand
No.
when you put a project together, Diane will put the revenue side and she puts the expenditure side in.
Mhm.
And it- so
well,
the,
then,
so
I
they're,
understand that, but if we're not getting it for a revenue, how can
Then we
we,
take it out of the expenditure,
Mhm.
and it was figured for police
Okay.
wages.
Right.
all right.
Yep.
thank you, Diane.
Then my other question would be, are we still positioned? Are we saying that we're not working on getting an officer in the school? Are we working on the premise of a part-time chief and part-time vet?
That would be another discussion, but what we're doing is taking the money that was expenditure for this year.
Mhm.
We are talking a community resource officer or SRO or a fourth officer or whatever we decide
Call it.
for the next budget year. We can still use that number. That's just this year's number. So we
Right, so
can,
I'm talking about starting when school starts. Are we not invested at getting somebody in the school? That's what
I believe that we had that money already set aside for, because we've used that previously. This was all basically if that grant would have gone through. My understanding.
Can I say?
Or yeah, here,
I mean,
Diane,
we always did get some money from the school. We
Right.
left that in there. This is just that additional 60
Mhm.
that the school was going to pay.
Ask your question again.
So do we have the funding to get to our part of getting an SRO in the fall, or are we saying that we're not going that route? We're
That's-
not invested
The
in it.
second half,
Mhm.
the second half, because
So no, we're not, there's no possibility, we're not focused on getting somebody in the fall.
in the fall, that's correct. that's discussion we had with Mr. Peanut today too. But straightforward is that we are financially in a situation, I use the word, which is very hard to say, we were reneged. We didn't get the grant, so it's all tied on the grant.
Mhm.
It was a domino program. I wanted to make sure you get your answer correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Tiara? Does that answer your questions?
Yeah.
Okay, with no other discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt the resolution amendment 2024-05, amending the 2024 budget. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Nay,
Any opposed? Nay. Okay. That will pass. Going on to item number 9. Presentation and proposal for the administrator department, departure.
I will take over for you.
Yes.
Okay. What is your packet is administrative position pilot project. That is a draft document. It's nothing, it's something for, we have to have discussions because to be very honest with you. I have some health problems, health issues, which I may not be able to be here after December. I don't know what it's gonna turn out, but at the same time, it's the same thing we talked about before. We start looking at our overall budget. Budget that's been put together, and we have a hard time, so to this conclusion, I am recommending that you may not, the position this starts out is that you do not start with a full-time administrator starting in 2025. This pilot project is something that was drafted by a combination of myself, Ben and Diane. This is about the 3rd iteration that we went through. There's been a lot of people, a lot of us involved in it. And basically, it just kind of lays out as a pilot. That means you are doing a process for a year. You need to, don't change job descriptions, don't portion it, but it's very little layout, very small layout of what each one's responsible day to day. The other thing is twofold. On the second page, and it's on the other part of your agenda. Because of putting this all together, and it's a dual process we're looking at, and we know that the police chief is going to be leaving us. So I also put in this portion in the police department and a new police chief. That's why this discussion came up. So that's, and hopefully it was understanding that discussion came up. And now all I did is talk about a new job description where we hire some police chief. And I say SOR, it doesn't mean what I write is going to happen. It's just someone's got to start the ball going and the discussion to occur. I said SOR. Starting recruiting new chief and try to be on the board by February 15th. Now, the reason I put that date down is that we found out, I had discussions with the chief earlier, that would be his last day on site in the village as a police chief. He's still going to be on board until all the way to April 14th. Someone else said that already. And then in that, I also said, or recommend to the public PSC to promote internally. The reason I did that it's always an alternative that everybody looks at when we look at replacement of a chief. And that's just put out there. That's what I've done in many other communities. There's nothing mean you have to do it. It's just me putting thing on the table. Hope you understand that. And then I did have no idea of how we would operate. But I put a note on here of what we could do with the school district if they can get a grant, but we're still talking about a legacy. Now, I'm only going into a little detail in this one because I know it's been the heartburn that I hear a lot of people talking about. This is just a suggestion. I've already heard people say to me, police chief or his designee. The thing that we're facing is we cannot, I'm gonna be very honest with you, you cannot afford to put another officer on. At this with your budget that you have. Some of you may feel you think you can, but you can't. I'm being honest with you. I've been looking at the finances, been involved with this. So And then I just put the last paragraph in there, so, because I don't want to see anybody fail. I mean, success is making sure people don't fail in it. And the last paragraph is considering needed services by values Ben, planning and zoning and DMI matters. And I said Vanderwall and myself. In other words, you need to still have someone helping Ben in those major portions of the project. So that's the twofold. I'm not going too much details, but I think you're going to really tear this apart at your next meeting, and you have more discussion. And I'm trying to stay with your timeline. But for that, that is this part of the agenda, and with the pilot. And I'll be honest, the pilot was really came up with a lot of different people's discussion. It wasn't say, yeah, you're going to just completely be the head of it, Ben. Ben, I talked for Ben. I talked to him. He wants to feel it out too. I mean, you just don't throw somebody in that without him having a chance to be a discussion portion. So I feel he was a big part of putting this together. And Diane can participate, but I made sure she was involved also.
Any discussion? I guess I have a couple things. I happen to like the way the pilot project is. I read through it. I read through the budget, and some of the things that I dislike about it is maybe the new chief position. I want the new chief to realize, whomever it may be, that we're going to expect, we have a small community and we just don't have the funds. So I don't want them coming in thinking that some of their job duties are not going to be handling our kids at our school, because let's face it, during the day, that's where all our people are. The numbers are right there at our schools. So I don't want a person coming in being blindsided, saying that they're not going to be over at the school. I guess I kind of would like it to be up to the chief, the new chief. I guess, we talked about that as if the new chief has to say to one of the officers, whomever it may be, you're going to go into the school and you're going to do it. If you don't like it, well, I'm sorry, but that's the way it's going to be. I hate to be that hard line, but I know a former chief that had actually said that to me at one time. So,
You did a damn good job.
and nor did I want to go, but I went. And so I don't really want to have to say to a new person, a new possible hire, that you're going to be our community officer, or you're going to be SRO. I think any officer that applies for the chief, like Chief Drew, young kid when I was a young officer, but we want somebody that's gonna be a community officer. Each one of our officers, past or present, they have been a community officer, all of us. And so that's what I'm really, so I guess I struggle with just that person, but I do want the new person to realize that's going to be some of their duties, as being part of the community, going to the basketball games, football games, being at the school, because that is our school and our village are intertwined, and that's just the fact. So I'm not against this project.
So are we on the administrative part, or?
I'm talking about the whole proposal. I think the whole proposal I like, other than maybe I just want the awareness when we post the position for chief, to realize that there's going to be a lot of community activity.
I think we can do that without changing their job description. I think that if we're jumping up to the police chief part, I think that's how they do that. I think we might be encroaching if we're saying this is, you're going to be, required to do this. I think it's up to the chief to this is what you're budgeted in your budget. That would be, I think, the chief's call. But on the administrator part, I to no one's surprise, I suppose, am not comfortable with it. And the biggest reason is there wouldn't be anybody that is the visionary driving the village. And had we had that, we haven't had a full-time administrator. Dwayne's had more work than he's had time. And I think we're paying the price right now when we're trying to shuffle this stuff around because we don't have anybody that's going and finding the money. The money's there. It's, going to our legislators, it's getting the grants, it's this multi-layered place that visionary that's at the top with that level of exposure and experience is what's gonna either drive the village forward or leave us stagnant where we're just continuing to tighten the budget. We've got to have that economic development piece. Without that, we're going to continue to chip away until we're asking people to pay taxes at a level that they're not receiving the services. Regarding the police part, I think we need to be careful in that aspect. Yes, we're a small village, but number one, our police department, our community has grown to expect a level of service from them. And we're a small community. We're also the throughway for the communities around us. And we have that, the highway coming through that we're part of a 3-city metropolis, so to speak, where some of the other comparables, when you look at Pittsville, they're all themselves alone, a smaller little downtown area. We have the stuff that goes on in Nakusa and the stuff that goes on in Rapids and other surrounding areas that also becomes our problems. So at this point, my biggest thing, if we don't have somebody with the administrative experience that is of the higher level of going and getting that money, and actually maybe I'll share it at the next meeting, but I do have a piece of communication that from Joe Terry regarding, do you want to hear it at this meeting or
Why
the
don't
next meeting?
Why don't we do it at the next meeting? Because I think that would be, this is kind of just a discussion.
Okay.
Trustee Zerflu?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a matter of Robert's rules. We were on this item. I agree with everything but one thing that Pierre said, by the way, but it's the administrator's departure, not the proposal. He presented that as part of his, so good speech, just a little.
Well, I asked. I said, where are we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's throwing you under the bus there, Lon.
It could be.
Politely.
And, I guess we can discuss that more at the next meeting. Like I said, I think the proposal is a good thing in the project, other than what I've said. And one is finances. Two, if we look back at a previous administrator that was here that had a lot of visions and spent a lot of TIF dollars of things that didn't resolve. And if we look at that, we have to have a common sense approach. And the common sense approach, unfortunately, we're not the only community. There's other communities. I know a community up north is going to referendum. And if they don't pass a referendum, the mayor of that community said some of their things they're gonna have to trim. And one of the things was trim the police department in that small community and have county services. We're lucky to have our services because we're using common sense approaches. And financially, we have to do that. We have to be financial. And every community is struggling. But I think that Port, we're struggling also, but we're using some common sense approaches. And we have to look at programs like this. But we can talk about that at the next meeting into a little more detail. Review of the 6-month 2024 budget expenditures. Dwayne, did you want to go on that, or Diane?
Do you have a handout on that?
didn't put it on there, so.
I think
That's
it
fine.
was
I just want to
all-
make sure I didn't miss it.
Yeah.
Miss it. That's all. Okay.
No, it was one of the last meetings
Mhm.
that the chair has to be put on the agenda. And basically, I think is that you get the reports from Diane, for all where we're at to date. If I'm right, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you have the total 6 months in this last printout or not.
Yeah,
think
I
you-
mean, I sent them out.
It was-
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just didn't
yeah.
know if it was printed and I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure I wasn't missing
And
something.
I just, the idea is that there's where I usually start, department heads start, that's where this earlier discussion came on, where the shortfall may come, so we just want to let you take a look at that, you should see where we're be looking at, and that's why we even have this meeting today, so that's where we're at. Discussion.
Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we're gonna go to number 11 right away. Discuss pay and job duties for new police chief. Again, I think that's gonna be in the next meeting, but I guess the pay, we want to give the PFC some direction on what we want to do for when they advertise for a new chief. And I think Dwayne has a little information on that.
What I did is I looked at what actually worked with the chief, got the information with the job description was back and how they promoted in the past, just pulled it up. On the first one, it's just called, it's an old one, it's the advertisement announcement. And I went down on the bottom, and the only thing I looked at and changed, you'll see it's recognized as a wage recommendation. 70 to 80, and then you can see it last time was 60 to 72. Also in the finance committee's packet, there's also a chart of what the chief gave me on where the wages were last year. The finance committee only has it, and basically it shows what you may have or not share. I don't think you do.
Do you have it? Here, I can. Wage comparisons.
And I just wanted to see that.
Oh.
And she has.
Joe made it. Okay.
I think the chair, the only find, he's got one. And so basically, I just wanted you to see it. It doesn't, it's just a document. And I made some checks on them to where we're, the population is. And I'm actually gonna follow up what the chief had said earlier to me is that we usually in the past understand from Port Edwards is that you have, okay, we're talking in a minute, town of Grand Rapids has set usually there, then you have Nakusa, and then usually Port Edwards kind of falls right kind of behind that a little bit. So that if you look at the 2003, right in front of me, 2003, you can see that. I do know the wage and what we're at now for police chief, I wrote it in there. It's at 82, we're almost at 82. And basically, that's where he's at now. So for this discussion is basically not the job description. It's just where would you think the wage would fall? And that's what it's on the agenda. And it's not really discussion only. It's going to be at your next meeting. Chair.
I guess the next meeting would actually be a proposal for, job duties, so.
I just wanted to see what was put together. And the same thing as I ran a job description with what I proposed. It doesn't mean it's locked in any concrete or process. The chair of the finance committee also mentioned that it was in my proposal. It doesn't matter what I put down, it just get us started. That's all I'm doing.
I think that, any other discussion, but I think by posting it between 70 and 80 is fair for our community, and we can always take that to the PFC, let them start here early fall and see what we get for applicants. If we don't, we can repost it and discuss, wage again. But from what our comparisons are, I think it's fair for our size community. Any other discussion, President Matzel?
I would just, obviously looking at this, I would suggest, because we're at 82, where are we? Right here. I would suggest going not quite so much underneath, I would say 75 to 85.
That's what I was.
Because you can
thinking.
still negotiate that too. That would just be my suggestion, or even if you want to go 72 to 82, meet where we are now.
I
That would
think, you know,
just be my suggestion.
I think 82 to 72 would be, and see what we get. If we don't get if we don't get anybody, or we don't get candidates that the PFC feels that are candidates for the position, we can always adjust it and repost it.
I was thinking 75 to 85 in that we can, I mean, it's not a guarantee they're gonna get that rate, but I don't want to deter the right candidate because it is a tricky position to fill. I would be open to. So are we bringing
I
a
guess we can bring,
motion to the? No, we're
No.
just discussing it. Okay.
Trustee Zerflu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When, Chief, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we gave a area where the wage was now with the chief we had at the time. And then we put some, not pressure on the candidate, it's what are you looking for? And way back when I rode a horse to my interview, they asked me, the committee asked me the same thing. So, you know, to set, I get where Tira's coming from, but if, once you start, okay, we're at 82, well, let's go 82 to 95. You're locked in. I mean, what candidate is not gonna try and get that 95? I think we start at where we're at now, but ask get the candidate involved. And may I have permission to go off the table?
Yes.
Leo, can I take your opinion on that since you are a current member of PFC?
He wasn't listening.
Sorry, I was.
No, you can wait, that's perfectly fine. Nick?
Please restate what you were gonna say, I apologize.
No, we're at this wage thing, and when Scott came in, we basically had where the wage is now, and when he was our candidate, he came into it like what he had to have, quote unquote. So I just wanted to know what your opinion on that was.
We don't have any fiduciary responsibility, that rests with the board.
That's correct.
So we have to work with what you give us. What my concern, first of all, before the combination SRO police chief thing was even on the table, is we don't want to post a position this fall, bring in candidates, do background checks, conduct interviews, get a finalist, have the finalist come to the board or its various committees, and then walk because their salary expectations can't be met.
Mhm.
We want to know, at least in general terms up front, what the village believes they can afford to pay the new chief in whatever capacity you decide you want him to be, and then we'll work with that.
Mhm.
I don't know what kind of applicants we'll get, depending upon what those salaries are. Because nobody is going to want to come to a position and get less than what they had wherever they were. They're not going to lose vacation, they're not going to lose sick leave, they're not going to lose salary. They're going to want to stay at least in the same ballpark as where they were at. But that decision is not ours, that's yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Send a text to the new chief around.
Yeah, I heard his little stuff up.
Well, you know, I think that can be more discussion on that at the next meeting, but I still feel strongly about 70 to 80 and could be negotiable, but you know, you look at that, I think you'll be surprised of how many candidates you get. Because, you know, we need the right fit. And I think we have to be realistic. I don't think I would want to go over what we're paying right now because of the budgets and financially. So, but we can discuss that in the next one. Item 12, old business. Anybody have any old business? Dwayne?
To the finance committee and the rest of the board are hearing it too, but the finance committee dealt with the DMI permit the last time, and then it moved over to the
Property.
property and property, plan and property committee. They have reviewed it and they're gonna be forwarded to the village board. I just want to inform, a lot of them were asking questions. I had a conversation with DMI yesterday on a conference call. It went very well. It went very well. All these conditions we're looking for in a permit, they're agreeable on it. And matter of fact, we talked about the timeline for the demolition period to be done at a certain time.
You know,
It's old business.
Nick sent an email.
I just want to bring up to date. That's all. And that was earlier.
No, I was just wondering, did you see, it just came within the last half hour.
I had not seen that yet, but I know that he was going to put something together as our staff.
Okay, any other old business? Okay, discussion on new business, any new business? Any new business, Dwayne?
I have none for the finance committee.
Diane? Okay, correspondence received. I guess I will just bring up that we did receive your email, Mr. Thomas Guard, and I read it. Thank you. And I think everybody else, has everybody gotten?
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to acknowledge that we did get it and we did read it. Agenda items for next meeting. One is a review of the IT proposal. I know that we kind of wanted it on this meeting, but thanks, Jim, for putting it over to my committee. But the numbers are not ready yet. We're getting 2 quotes and we're waiting for numbers and details and to make sure the details we're looking at apples to apples. Does anybody else have anything else for the agenda for next meeting that they would like? Okay, without any objection, I will adjourn the meeting at 5:52.